We'll call this recommending meeting to order. Today is December 1st, 2009. Are we in compliance with the open meeting law?
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay, so we'll move on to the first line item of business, and that is bill number 2009-48, which adopts the 2009 edition of the International Energy Conservation Code, along with amendments thereto proposed by Chris Knight. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Councilman. Chris Knight, City of Las Vegas Building and Safety Director. The suite of 2009 codes, the International Building Code, Residential Code, and all other codes, are currently in the process of being reviewed through the Southern Nevada building officials. But in order to make the City of Las Vegas eligible for grant applications of part of the retrofit program under the Recovery Act, the city had to adopt, and so did the other agencies in Southern Nevada, had to adopt the International Energy Conservation Code by December 14th of 2009 in order to get special consideration for those grants. The city plans on applying along with other local agencies for approximately $75 million worth of those grant monies. So in order to make us eligible for special consideration on that, through the Southern Nevada building officials, we have worked to expedite the approval process of the International Energy Conservation Code, and that's the reason it's before you today. The code process is a 3-year process in which most of the codes, the energy code, the building codes, all go through. We have a 3-year cycle. They go through a 3-year vetting process at the national level with representatives all across the country from various governmental agencies, building officials, the United States Environmental Protection Agency gets involved, the Sierra Club and other clubs involved, interested in energy conservation, along with the building officials and the home builders and the general contractors, private sector folks, all have input into that for 3 years. Then when it comes to the Southern Nevada, we go through a process where in adopting codes, and it's the process we're in for all the codes, and we've expedited it for this code, where we work with committees assigned to these different codes. We have representation from the private sector on there, from the home builders, the AGC, and any private interests. They have voting rights on local amendments. And our local amendments are done basically for topographical, climatic, or geographical reasons. There are some other things with the uniqueness of some of the buildings that we build here in Southern Nevada, the casinos, and some of the technology used in those buildings, that we put together local amendments, and those local amendments are part of this. So what we're recommending today, there is a letter that the home builders were trying to send to me yesterday, and it kept getting eat up on my email, and I didn't get through, but we will provide you a copy of that letter today, supporting the adoption of the International Energy Conservation Code with one amendment, and it's amendment we're prepared to recommend to you. And that amendment is that this code, upon adoption, be adopted with the amendment that the effective date of the International Energy Conservation Code be July 6th of 2010. That would be in keeping with the effective date of all the other suite of codes that the building officials are working on. It gives us time to do training, gives the home builders time to prepare their applications and to understand what's coming down the line with them. And we have checked with the Department of Energy, who has these block grants, and they have said it is fine if you have a later effective date. It's just have it adopted by December 14th. So that amendment will make all parties happy. The home builders have expressed concern that we were pushing this through very rapidly. And with a later effective date amendment, then they're in support of us going ahead and adopting the Energy Code. And it will be effective along with all the other suite of codes that we will be bringing forward to you in the first quarter of 2010.
Is there anyone here willing to speak on this item? So please come forward to the microphone and state your name for the record. Seeing none, Councilman?
Motion approved with the amendment.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Councilman,
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to announce we're going to do something a little bit in addition at these meetings. There's been some confusion about when these go forward to council, and some of the citizens have complained that they didn't know. So after you make a motion on each item, if it's for approval, I'll indicate it's scheduled to be eligible for adoption. So this particular bill that you just sent on will be eligible for adoption tomorrow.
That's a good idea.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Bill number 2009-49 updates municipal code provisions pertaining to the Department of Finance and Business Services. Mr. Vincent.
All right, thanks.
Or Betsy. City
Just in
Manager.
time.
Betsy Pratt.
Councilman, this is primarily somewhat of a cleanup bill. We have been referring to Mark Vincent as the Chief Financial Officer, which is kind of a consistent position title for the nature of the work that he conducts. And so this bill would make our ordinance consistent with our current practice, for lack of a better way to describe it. And then that way, when he's signing official documents, he can sign them as the Chief Financial Officer. So his working title will become his real title in the ordinance, basically. And it's that simple of a change.
Okay. Is there anyone here willing to speak on this item? And so please come forward. State your name for the record. Seeing none. Councilman.
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you.
That bill will be eligible for adoption on December 16th.
Okay, great. Thank you. December 16th. Do we need to ask Mr. Vincent if he accepts the new title?
Absolutely.
Okay. Bill number 2009-51 authorizes the city to execute the Fourth Amendment of the amended and restated Fremont Street Experience Project Development Agreement to provide terms for the repayment of a portion of the cost incurred by the City of Las Vegas Redevelopment Agency to acquire the Fremont Street parking garage. Mr. Arndt.
Thank you, Councilman. For the record, Bill Arntz, Director, Office of Business Development. This item is to clarify the payment obligation of the Fremont Street Experience Limited Liability Company and also the Fremont Street Experience Parking Corporation to repay the cost of acquisition of the land for the parking garage in excess of $6.4 million. In your backup attached to the ordinance is Exhibit A, which is the Fourth Amendment itself, which is fairly brief. It covers that the original agreement dates back to October 20th of 1993, and the company, again, they agreed to reimburse the agency for costs in excess of $6.4 million. An independent audit was requested by the Redevelopment Agency in 2008 to determine the exact amount of reimbursement owed, and Fremont Street Experience worked with us on this. And the audit was conducted by Stewart, Archibald, and Barney, LLP, and is actually attached as Exhibit 1 to the Fourth Amendment. And that shows the summary findings that the total acquisition costs were $17,531,200. And as a result, the Fremont Street Experience Parking Company owes the difference, which is $11,131,200. Exhibit 2 to the Fourth Amendment sets out the payment schedule, which starts in January 2010, runs through January 2026, with monthly payments of approximately $57,950. And then in the agreement itself, the Fourth Amendment, item number 4, it indicates that the agreement is for Fremont Street Experience to repay this amount owed from monthly net revenues from the retail space in the garage itself. So to the extent that there are revenues available, and we'll be able to audit that with their financial statements, they're obligated to pay us against that payment schedule. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Arndt, the question that I have as far as the $57,950 payment will be extended through year 2025 as far as when the garage will be, when the city will be reimbursed?
That's correct. It sets out the payment schedule in Exhibit 2, and It actually goes into the beginning of 2026. So the year is 2026.
2026, where the payment drops by a little bit more than 50%.
Right. There was an attempt to do it's basically a straight amortization, but it doesn't perfectly match up, so the very last payments are a little bit less.
Okay. Thank you, sir. If there's anyone here willing to speak on this item, please come forward, state your name for the record.
Good morning. My name is Teddy Russell, the 5th resident of Las Vegas. I just wanted to inquire as to the rate of interest used on this particular item, and also why are we so generous with time as far as the longevity with the contract expiring as it were on 2025. Thank you very much.
Mr. Arndt? Two good questions, by the way.
Sure. The Fourth Amendment sets out that there isn't any interest due. If you look at in the amendment itself, it sets out that the payment schedule is really meant to pay the amount without interest. That was also shown in the audit findings as far as what the original agreement was between the city's redevelopment agency and Fremont Street Experience. So based on our original agreement, again, this is something not that current staff hasn't negotiated. We're just trying to clarify the original agreements that were done previously. The amount does not bear interest, and the payment schedule is really based on paying it out of net revenue, what the amount that we believe that can be paid over time based on the current financial statements. And one of the reasons why payments hadn't become into the agency previously was because of just the lease up of the space. That now there is leasing of the space where we have Walgreens and some other tenants. But in years past, certainly going back several years, the space wasn't fully leased, and so we didn't have net revenue from Fremont Street Experience to pay back the obligation. So the answer to the first question is there is no interest. And the second question is it's based on the ability to pay in the Fremont Street Experience. And again, it's clarifying the original agreements that set forth. It really wasn't something that current staff negotiated. It was just clarifying the original intent of the parties in the original agreements with Fremont Street Experience.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arndt. I just wanted to mention that I had an extensive conversation with Jeff Victor, the CEO of Fremont Street Experience. Of course, malls are particularly problematic throughout the nation. The Fremont Street Experience is a particularly unique challenge. I wanted to say that I am extremely pleased with the ongoing, continued, much more than satisfactory performance of Mr. Jeff Victor. We had the best, longest, most fun, most crazy Oktoberfest, Fright Fest, I realize it's not. The two...
Mr. Russell, please stay on the topic of discussion.
We had 1,000 young people processed through in most magnificent, gory costumes, and I'm talking about the success of this endeavor, sir. And
Mr. Russell,
also...
Mr. Russell, excuse me, sir. Does that have to do with this item under recommended, what you're talking about right now?
Yes.
In what way?
We're talking about finances, we're talking about revenue,
You're talking about an event that took place that has nothing to do with this item.
We're
so
talking about
would you
good
please
news.
would you please go ahead and wrap up and stay to the topic of what we're discussing today, please? Please.
With all due respect, I think you've been rude. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Councilman?
Just one question, Bill. Where does this money go? These payments, what fund do they go to?
It goes to the Redevelopment Agency Special Revenue Fund, so this would be revenue that would come into my Redevelopment Agency budget, which could be reinvested in other projects. It's not earmarked for any specific project, it's just coming into my general operating budget.
Okay. And I see interest here on exhibit number 2 in the amount of $14,498.88. So what does that represent when you talk about?
That's a good question,
no
Councilman.
interest?
It's a little misleading. The interest is kind of a backed in rate. If you look at the grand total payment amounts, the payment. If you look at the payment column in the schedule, I assume you're looking at Exhibit 2,
Mm-hmm.
the payment schedule. If you look at the payment column, and you look at the sum of their two schedules, there's one which is $5,131,200, and then the second schedule, which if you flip to the end, which is on page 6, $6 million total. That sums up to $11,131,200. So that's the amount owed. Those rates were really backed into. It's kind of a plug rate, or almost like an artificial rate, just to show a principal and an interest payment due as part of the payment. But that total payment obligation, we really worked backwards from the $11,131,200. That's the amount owed. That's the amount that the audit finding found. So that's really what we're looking at. The difference between the $6.4 million and the 17.1 million was the $11 million. So that's the amount that we're backing into.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone here else willing to speak on this item? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Well, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Staff?
This item also eligible for adoption on December 16th.
Great. Thank you. And we are now down to citizens' participation. Anyone from the public during this portion of the agenda must be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the committee. No subject may be acted upon by the committee unless that subject is on the agenda and is scheduled for action. Yes, sir.
Good morning. My name is
Good morning.
Kenny Russell, a resident of Las Vegas. I'm pretty much kind of plain and kind of simple. My understanding is all of our time is equally valuable. I may be, and I know it's a reach and a stretch, that my time, Mr. Councilman, may be as valuable as yours. I remember meetings that we were much more merry. Merry from the Anglo means pleasant, affable, agreeable. Have a very Merry Christmas, Joyeux Noël, Feliz Navidad. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And from my neighborhood to yours, Merry Christmas. Councilman, entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Your neighborhood is my neighborhood.
You're right.
I live in the Ward.
Welcome to Fabulous Ward 5, Mr. Russell.